Morning, everyone.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 11 a.m. Madam Tina, over to you.
Good morning. Welcome, everybody. It's a beautiful Sunday morning. And first of all, heartfelt thanks for making the time to join us, to be with us, and to commit to some additional information and a beautiful talk that we're going to have. More about it later. I wanted to also share a quote today morning, and I was trying to prepare some material for one of the sessions that we are supposed to have, and this quote stumbled in front of me. Communication works for those who work at it. I found it to be very profound. At ISTD, we have been making an effort, continuous effort, to make sure that we reach out to our members and we continue this journey of collaboration, sharing, and continuously communicating. Welcome to outreach number 5. We grow bigger, better, and greater with each outreach. And we are fortunate enough to get beautiful, amazing, impactful, fantastic speakers to spend time with us. A special welcome to our people across Asia and the board members of IFTD as we begin today's outreach session. It's my pleasure and my privilege to open this session and request our national president, Mr. Atul Shah, to say the welcome words. Over to you, sir.
There's been a message from Mr. Ravi Baliskar whether we can have a minute's silence for people whom we have lost at Pahalgam. So start with a minute's silence.
Atul sir, you are on mute, sir. No, not audible. You are on mute, sir.
Right. Thank you. Welcome, LRK Krishnan, Mr. Daveji. Our erudite speaker, Sanjay Ji from Nagpur, whom I had a chance to hear a few months back. Our sagacious past national presidents are vibrant NC members. Respected IFTDO board members and few of our members from across Asia who have joined today are dedicated Team OB. The officiating director, effervescent Tina Ji, our clear and focused-minded outreach head all the way from Mangalore, Madam Nivteta Mirichkar, guests, friends from across the country. Outreach number 5, let's try a poem. Or I think it's called poem. From all of us to ISTD, a dil se hi. Meeting you in every outreach gives us a high. ISTD has cheerful, vibrant faces, none shy. Today, sharing with you, feeling elated and upbeat, this is no lie. Getting better every day, we must always try. Passion and Josh to all ISTD does supply. We network, we bond, we chat over garam chai. In ISTD, for 55 years, learning never ran dry. Learning is good, but we must apply. ISTD, let us dream big, limit the sky. Be always cool, though the sun does fry. We are clean and open, transparent, never sly. To compete with ourselves, not others, let's try. At times when things go downhill, don't petrify, never cry. Be open-minded, think Question why. We're deeply proud of you, dear Behan and Bhai. Enjoy life's journey. Destination ko kaho goodbye. From your heart, say Bharat Mata ki Jai. Over to our coordinator, Madam Nivtita.
Thank you, Atul, for setting the tone with that really, really wonderful poem. And I'm sure that Dr. Sanjay Arora today will, because he's from the advertising background, he's going to say that, all right, a little bit of creativity is here too. It's my absolute privilege to be introducing our speaker today. There is a belief that says that those who can, do. Those who can't, teach. And those who can't teach, consult. But here is a man, Dr. Sanjay Arora, who has done all three. He started with his MBA in IIM Bangalore and then added to that a PhD in brand management. He is a 9-time TEDx speaker and a keynote speaker. He's been featured in the CNN News 18 and NDTV for his marketing expertise. He's the founder of Shell's Advertising Incorporated, one of Central India's largest agencies. He expanded operations to Dubai in 2009. With 5 lakh Instagram followers and over 100 million monthly views, his marketing tips are globally popular. Dr. Arora has taught at premier institutes like IIT Nagpur and Manipal University, Dubai, serves on multiple academic boards, and conducts corporate training programs. An active Rotarian and community leader, he also promotes wellness through free yoga classes and has authored Simple Yoga for a Healthy Life. I also give a big shout out to the Western region because they gave us this gem in Dr. Sanjay Arora. Sir, we are looking forward to you. Over to you.
Thank you so very much, ma'am. And you've been extra kind, I think. In fact, I failed at all three, and therefore I'm here.
I must also mention, sir, before we start, that we are extremely proud that Sanjay ji is an ISTD member too. Over
Thank
to
you. Thank you so much. So I am, of course, not going to even try to fill Atul's shoes. He was too good. And I'm going to stick to my topic and not try to create any poetry at all. So I'll be on to prose, absolutely the subject I know. And therefore, I think I would be able to do a little justice to what I have to say today. Before that, just let me try and share my screen so that we can start right away. Is that visible?
Yes.
Oh, great. So yeah, with a very, very good morning. And the morning actually started on a wonderful note with Tina ji and then Niveta ji and of course Atul. So yeah, we are all charged to go. And let's, are we all ready to go for a small tour now? Yeah. Let's go on a chota sa tour and straighten your seat backs, tighten your seat belts, as they say in the flight. And here we go. So I would want some of you to be unmuted so that I can get some interaction because the session actually is meant to be live, though I'm doing it, rarely do it online because 90% of the impact is taken away by online sessions. But yet, when you all requested, I said, I'll do it. Someday, maybe live, we can be together too. So yeah, what do you see on your screens now?
Coca-Cola bottle.
Coca-Cola.
What
Coca-Cola.
is Coca-Cola? So those who were there at the Nagpur session will not answer.
It's aerated drink.
It's a beverage, it's an aerated drink. But to call it just an aerated drink is kind of demean the drink because for 130 plus years now, it has remained the #1 selling drink in the world.
Are we calling it a brand?
Sorry? Okay.
So, sorry.
Yeah. So 130 plus years being a #1 leader in any category, especially such a competitive category as a soft drink, is no mean task. Imagine the number of people who've tried to leave their mark on the brand, right from the promoter passing away, new MDs coming in, new CEOs, new board, new marketing directors, new CMOs, new advertising agencies coming and handling this, new brand managers, with a plethora of people wanting to do something unique and wanting to leave a mark on a brand and not counting all the competition that's trying to pull you down all the time to be #1 in your place. Despite all of this chaos happening all around you for 130 years, to be there as a #1 is really, really commendable. And therefore, I'm sure we can learn a lot of things from how did this happen, why did this happen, etc., etc. But that's another case study. The basic question here is, who do you think is Coke's competition?
PepsiCo.
Pepsi.
Pepsi. So
Pepsi, Thumbs
wherever I
Up.
put this question, the answer is very clear, Pepsi. And here is where I want to leave the first lesson with you all, which is the moment you define your competition is the point that you're also defining your scale of opportunity. Coke has never considered Pepsi as a competition in terms of, yes, same category, you have to keep an eye, monitor the numbers, etc., etc. But when Coke started off, and for many, many decades, even today after that, Coke has said, water is my competition, because that is the most drunk liquid on this planet. And if for those of you all who've been to America or the developed world, you all would have noticed people sit there not with a glass of water with their meals, but with a can or a bottle of Coke with their meals. So they've managed to replace every glass of water that you have with a meal with a Coke there. And that's when I say that the moment you define your competition is also the moment you're defining your scale of opportunity. The moment Coke looks at Pepsi, so historically, Coke has had about 42% market share in America, and Pepsi is roughly about 23-24% market share. And if they fought with Pepsi, probably what they would have gained is about 1% or 2% of market share from Pepsi. But that wouldn't have really helped them too much. Had they to become what they have become today, they had to look at everything else that we drink. And when Coke came back to India after his ignominious, George Fernandez banned all foreign drinks when emergency came in, and the second entry of Coke into India, the CEO then is on record saying, we're not competing with the Pepsis or anything of the world. We are competing with chai, chach, nimbu pani, nariyal pani, and the likes, because he knew where the opportunity lies. So for us also, this is a huge lesson that when you look at competition, don't look at it in the micro terms. The next trainer for a sari shop, the next sari shop on the street, there's no competition. You have to look at the bigger picture, because that's where the opportunity is. And that's where we can really spread our wings and grow. Otherwise, we'll be restricted to a small area of our own, region, locality, etc., etc. So that's why Coke is, and that's the biggest drought from the lesson of Coke for me. Then what is this?
Walmart.
Yeah, since time is at premium, we'll be already at about 11:15. I'll be a little fast as I go through. Otherwise, typically, we are Sanjays are known to speak for 18 chapters at least. So one Gita at a time is what we do. And brand Krishna is also brand created by another Sanjay. So you know nothing of Krishna except for what Sanjay told you. So that's been a profession for forever and ever. So and my workshops are also normally a full day or a 2-day workshops. So I'll try and shrink it as much as possible. So Walmart has been the world's largest brick and mortar retail operation ever. And there are also reasons for it, but today we'll quickly run through these examples for some later learnings. Anyone, what is that? Okay, I'll answer it myself. Disney World, right? And when we come back from Disney World, what do we bring back? Actually, we don't bring back anything but experiences and memories. That's what it is for. That's, Tina ma'am would know it. Football, yeah. Soccer, right? Ronaldo. Yeah.
And
We'd give a right hand to get it to there. Yes. And that, Benji. And that, Lalu. And the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
And my favorite, Rotary International. Incidentally, if anyone of you is from Pune or Jaipur, I'm coming there for some convention, so we can catch up. Maybe later we'll talk about it. So Rotary International. Then the Dubai Shopping Festival. All of us love to go there. Malaysia, truly Asia. And Aman, man of the moment, right? As we call it. So we've seen universities, we've seen experiences, we've seen events, we've seen people, we've seen not-for-profits, we've seen a university. Any common thread running through all of them?
Unique
They're
brands.
established
They are
brands.
brands.
They are brands.
Develop the brand.
Exactly. Absolutely right. A round of applause for those who really got it. Because in the world that we live in today, it's not just, once upon a time we used to think tangible products are brands. But today, even human beings are brands. They have to maintain a certain brand profile. They have to ensure. So therefore, the whole area that has evolved, which is called personal branding also. But my question quickly would be, why would a not-for-profit organization like Rotary should be a brand? If you go to the Rotary website, rotary.org, you have a tab there called Brand Center. And you click on the Brand Center, you get the philosophy of Rotary, you get some material that you can download and use, like, any kind of artwork that you need, templates that you need. So why should Rotary consider itself as a brand?
To get donations?
Wonderful. So one is, yes, any service organization needs money to for its service projects. So yes, for funding, you need a brand. What else?
Be
Credibility.
recognized for the work they are doing.
Sorry?
Be recognized for the kind of work they are doing.
Yeah, but that's a process of building the brand. Why should we? The brand, one reason we've got is very clear, is to generate funds. And incidentally, just before we go forward, brand is trust in a shortcut. So if you know something, you've seen it, you know what it is, and you are associated with it, there is implicit trust. So a shortcut to trust is a brand, right? That's one of the key areas why, these reasons why we build a brand. So if you have trust, then you get funds. What else?
Recognition, sir.
Not really. Any other guesses?
More people can join.
Exactly. Someone said more people can join.
PR.
Yeah,
build
more people
PR.
can join. No, more than
To
PR.
build
These are all processes. I build a PR to build a brand. Why do I build a brand? Because I need two things. One is money and two is hands. Service projects, you need the funds and you need people to conduct the service project. People like who would want to give their time, money, everything. And those kind of people would want to be associated with an organization which really lives its promise. And that's Rotary. So the promise that Rotary makes is the brand, and people join it to ensure that the promise is fulfilled. And for that, the money is needed. For example, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation give its biggest ever philanthropic donation to Rotary. Why? Because they realize Rotary spends the least amount of money organizing the organization itself in terms of salaries, etc. It is lower than all private organizations too. So therefore, if 100 rupees are given to Rotary, more than 98 rupees would be spent on projects. That is the highest any other organization can do in the world, including private organizations. And that's the beauty of Rotary. So I make it a point to build Rotary up wherever I go. But then that also tells me that not only does a tangible product need a brand, but also not-for-profits need to be branded. And also I saw one more thing there, which was Malaysia Truly Asia. Why does a country need to be a brand? Even countries are brands, right? So I remember when I was, sorry?
To attract the people towards
Improve
Asia.
economic.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. Now, Malaysia,
talent, finance.
agreed, all of these, and make the country economically better. So if you look at it, Malaysia is smaller than many of the Indian states like UP, like MP, etc. Yet it draws in about 8 times more tourist revenue and footfalls than all of India. Now, this has been possible only because of branding Malaysia with just 2 words: Malaysia, Truly Asia. These 2 words captured what, when the West was, had looked at all of Europe and was moving out to look at tourism elsewhere, and they spotted Asia, and they just started coming to Asia. At that point, Malaysia Tourism Board came up with this campaign called Truly Asia, and that transformed. So what in effect these 2 words say is that if you want to experience Asia, you don't need to necessarily go all over this largest continent on the planet. What you can do is come to our Malaysia, spend a week here, and you experience Asia. And that really, really changed the country's tourism industry into a gigantic machine, if I may. So that's where I'm coming from. That even country, because when we were young, India was a snake charmers country with the rope trick wala yogis, etc., etc. That was brand India. Today, brand India is something very, very different. We are recognized as being really a talent pool, because a lot of global capability centers are coming up. And incidentally, if you're not aware, global capability centers today are bigger export dollar earners than your IT services also. So those kind of things are happening. We recognize that highly concentrated, large talent pool of people. Our talent is actually heading major MNCs in the world. So that makes us very proud. And therefore, the brand India has also changed despite, not in spite, but despite our politics. So that's why wherever, so I say wherever there is perception, there is brand. So the moment you leave a place, behind you, what do people talk about you? If they, whatever they're speaking is your perception you've left behind, or even if you've not met them, the perception that they've got of you. So whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not, you're already a brand. If there is a perception, there is a brand. The the best thing that you can do is take charge of this narrative and decide what this narrative is going to be like. So if you don't decide it, people will decide it, and then you have no reason to complain. I'm misunderstood. People think wrong about me. I'm not like this, etc., etc. So personal branding begins with understanding what is the perception I want people to have about me, and of course, going with this, the strain, the attribute that it has to be authentic, because only authentic perceptions sustain. The superficial ones, the fake ones, the false ones tend to fall apart sooner or later. So yes, you need to live up to the promise. Like every brand, even a product, tangible brand, lives up to its promise. Personal brands too need to live up to the promise. So deciding what the narrative should be about me, and then doing everything that builds that narrative in the long term about me, is the route to personal branding. There is no magic wand here. There is nothing like, so I spent 40 years in the industry trying to get to where I am. So there is no magic wand that could have got me here in 2 years. All right. So yes, it's a long haul, but it's worth the whole activity that you do. So that's where we move to the topic, which is basically we are all here to make money, right? Whatever we do in terms of our work is to ensure that we are profitable. And the question, therefore, immediately that should come to your mind is, what has a brand got to do with profits? Otherwise, why would I be spending all this time, money, energy on trying to build a brand, whether it's a personal brand or a product, service, country, whatever brand, right? You're going to be investing time and money in it. So why? So my answer to this is everything. Everything that every bit of profit that a company makes is due to branding. And if there are questions about this answer, I have answers coming from two different areas. One is, so we've got two lobes in our head, the brain as we call it. So there's the right lobe and there's the left lobe. The left lobe is associated with logic. Okay, everything logical, rational, technically is part of the left lobe activity, and everything intuitive, creative is a part of the right lobe of the brain. Now, since we were given two of these, God was clearly giving us a signal, look guys, use both of these. But unfortunately, our whole education system and even the organizational system, this is a long topic again, I'm digressing a little. We tend to focus on the left. So in any organization, if you can't quantitatively prove that you make a difference, you tend to be ignored. All right. Whereas the world, I'll prove it in a while, moves because of the right lobe and not because of the left lobe. So there's this whole disconnect between how we want things to be and how things actually are, and where the emphasis should be. And therefore, you see all of these chaotic steps that are taken by even organizations, individuals, of course. So I am given. So when I say that branding has everything to do with profits, I'm saying at the same time that I will give you answer both from the left lobe and the right lobe. Okay, so left lobe answer first, and then the right lobe answer. So I have to satisfy you completely. So this was a screenshot taken by me about a few months ago from Big Basket, and you can see the price of salt is 25 rupees a kg, Tata salt. But if you go to any commodity market, you'll see that this salt is about 5 rupees to 7 rupees a kg, which comes in sacks of 50 or 100 kgs, right? So that's the actual price of salt, which is 5 to 7 rupees a kg. And here it wears these orange robes with a black sigma on the center of it, and that says Tata salt. And suddenly, by saying this and getting this name on its chest, it becomes from 5 or 6 rupees to 25 rupees. That's about 5 times the original price. All right. And if you think that's a lot, hold your breath. This is the truth. Now look at this and tell me what the price per kg of this salt is. 250 rupees a kg. What started out as 5 rupees a kg has suddenly become 250 rupees a kg. And we happily buy it. It's on most good houses when you go to on the dining table. And without realizing, we are paying 50 times. Is it 50 times? 5 into 50, right? 250. Am I right? We're paying 50 times the money. And there, when we buy something, we haggle with the hawker for 5 rupees, 10 rupees, which is about 5%, 2%. And here, happily, we are paying 50 times the original price of the original commodity. And look at this now. The learning from here is that most of us believe that we are unable to make the kind of money we are supposed to be making is because the other guy offers his stuff cheaper, so we have to bring down our price. And this is typically what your smart clients do. You give them a quote and they show you a competitive quote which is lower than you. And then you kind of, okay, I'll match it. And no, matching guy, he's already given me this quote. So you come a little below that. And that quote is given to another competitor. So he's brought down. And typically they play us against each other to get the best price. Why does this happen? When something like salt, which probably after water is the most common commodity on this planet, can be sold at 50 times the price, can we not sell our own talents at the price that we want to sell it? Why should we be reducing prices? That is because we don't understand the principles of branding and therefore not command the premium or achieve our true potential is where I come from. My position is this. I've been trying to live up to that all my life, and fortunately, to a certain extent, I've been able to do that. So point I'm trying to make here is they identified a pain point. Okay, you need to understand this. The pain point was in rainy season, salt being hygroscopic tends to absorb water, crystallize, and therefore you have a problem when you want to sprinkle it. And therefore, then you have to get a toothpick, put it into the holes, try and enlarge the holes or clear the holes, etc., and get some salt. So they all saw this problem. So they brought out this plastic tube in which they have salt, and then they have holes of various sizes. Okay, so for larger use, you have a complete hollow big hole, and then a smaller ones for finer things, etc., etc. So this pain point, and then they innovated the whole packaging. The biggest transformation that they made was to take it out of that whole context of offering it in a plastic poly pack, in a 1 kg pack, and bring it to a tube so that you are not comparing it with that category at all. You pick up the tube, you see 25 rupees, oh, that's pretty cheap, and you put it in a shopping cart without realizing that you're getting 100 grams only. That is the biggest takeaway from here, and not that they have been able to address a pain point. Yes, they identified a pain point and addressed it, but beyond that, they did something which made you not compare it with salt at all. So they took it out of the category of salt in a way, and that's the magic of how they could do it, and take it 50 times. And 50 times is no mean task. Look at any product that you buy and just imagine 50 times, and you will say, oh God, that's sheer loot. So this is one of my favorite quotes that comes from Peter Drucker, the godfather of modern management, all of modern management. And he said, the two most important functions of a business are innovation and marketing. All the others are costs. So here, when we say business, okay, what do we really, when does business happen? Business happens when there is a transaction. You give something of value and you get something in return. That is money these days. Otherwise, it would be in barter. So if I'm offering something of value, then if I get money in return and the transaction happens, only then there is a business. Otherwise, if I'm giving away something and not getting anything in return, that's a not-for-profit organization. That's a service activity. Or if I'm getting money and offering nothing in return, that is pure philanthropy, dan, and not a transaction. So both these instances are not business. A business only happens if I give something and I get something in return. That's transaction. And whenever a transaction happens, that's a part of the marketing activity. So sales, if you know, is a very, very small, very chota sa component of the marketing game. Normally people equate marketing and sales, but marketing is all encompassing and sales is a small part. In fact, if you ask any marketing professional, marketing's whole objective is to make sales obsolete. If your marketing is really strong, you should not be required to sell it. People should come to want to acquire it at any price. So Emmy, for example, the bags, or Rolex, for example, these are brands that they don't go out selling at all. Okay. In fact, you go with the money to them and they will say, no. We'll talk about that story later if time permits, but they don't want to sell you at time. So marketing's task is to make the whole exercise so self-fulfilling in a way, so aspirational that sales is completely relegated out of the picture in a way. So sales is a small part. So therefore, one important function of business is marketing, any business, including your service provider, ES, knowledge providers, trainers, etc. So there's a service that we offer, and to get paid for that is a transaction, and therefore that part is supposed to be marketing. So if your marketing is really good, companies are making a beeline outside your office wanting to book your dates, you don't have the dates, that should be the problem. That's marketing. Okay. The other is innovation, because if you don't innovate, you can be a market leader for a while and then lose out. So companies that survive 100 years plus, 50 years plus, have to constantly innovate. And when I say innovate, normally this word is also misunderstood. It is not only the product that gets innovated. It's innovation that can happen at any step. For example, Coke again. The other day I did a reel on Coke. When they looked at India, they found the biggest barrier to Coke being able to penetrate this country was that the fridges that they provide ran on electricity, and electricity was very not reliable at all in rural parts of India. So you would have it, not have it, and therefore the Coke would probably, no one wants to drink a hot Coke, right? So what they did was they innovated solar-powered fridges, which they gave out in the hinterland. And that's when they started penetrating the hinterland. So innovation is not necessarily innovation in the product. It could be the supply chain, it could be the service, it could be after sales. So there are loads. In fact, when we do the workshop, we tell them, map your consumer journey, customer journey, right from the time the first call comes in. Okay, what happens? Who speaks to it? Where did the call get transferred? What's the next step? What's the next step? So throughout the process, till conversion happens, and then post-conversion, if the person has installation, after installation, if there is service needed. So all of these are customer touch points, and you could be looking at each of these touch points and looking at, how can I innovate this? How can I innovate this? What innovation can be brought in here? So it's not just because, you look at only product innovation. And one person who, in my opinion, idolized the right combination of marketing and innovation was Steve Jobs. I always tell the story that once, in business terms, the biggest advantage that a company has is a first mover advantage. Right. So if you're first with a certain product, you naturally tend to have a unique competitive advantage, and if you don't make any major blunder, you can be the market leader for a long time. So all of these products that we talk about, whether it's a Coke, first in the category, created the category of aerated beverages and colas. Gillette, first in safety razors. Wrigley's, first in chewing gums, etc., etc. Okay, so first in a category has a unique advantage. And here, when Steve Jobs came in with the iPhone, he was not first. He was probably the 25th player or something, right? The market was already there, existing for the last 10, 12 years, or maybe more. Okay, there were brands like Nokia, there were brands like Motorola, there were brands like Siemens and Alstom. All of these were also manufacturing mobile phones. Then any company which was large enough and wanted to be in this sector, because it was a booming sector, growing sector. And then comes our man, Steve Jobs. So Nokia was offering something like 28 models. Motorola was offering something like 18 models. BlackBerry was a big business telecom leader then. They had about 8 models, etc. So all of these companies offering hundreds of models and trying to give choice to the customer. Here comes Steve Jobs with just one single model, one single color. And the rest after that, they say, is history. Because that one model, just one model, no choices, transformed the telecom industry forever. And how it did it was innovation only, nothing much. So you didn't have touchscreen before that, but his touchscreen was very different from the rest. How? He didn't leave any. Before that, all the touchscreens would take about one third or max half of the phone, and the other half would be your buttons, physical buttons. So he looked at the whole thing and said, why should we have buttons at all? When the buttons are needed, we can bring them on, and when they're not needed, they should disappear. And that's why he could expand the entire real estate of a phone to a touchscreen. And that became an experience center in itself, huge. That was one innovation. Number two, he came with the app ecosystem. that changed again. It was no longer a phone after that. And he crowdsourced the applications out because he said, I have limited creativity. Let people decide what they want on their app store and develop it. And if they meet with our standards, we will have them in the app store. And then millions of applications came in. And therefore today we run our entire businesses out of, or everything else out of a mobile phone. That was innovation. So innovation and marketing are the two real functions of any business. Everything else is a cost according to Peter Drucker. So all your HRs, all your chartered accountants, finance, they are very critical to a business, but they aren't the business. The business is innovating. If you're not innovating, you're on your way to becoming a dinosaur. And the other part is even the best innovations fail if you are not able to market them. So marketing is another part of the story. In fact, even the best innovations, let me tell you, need huge marketing. So if you look at one of the biggest discoveries or developments in this on the planet could have been the vaccine for smallpox. You know what? When the vaccine for smallpox was developed, for the first 10-20 years, people were really scared to get it. All right. They don't want to get vaccinated. The developer, I'm forgetting his name, the guy who made it, the scientist, it's on the tip of my tongue, but anyway. So he was running from pillar to post trying to market it, and he couldn't. And then finally, when the King of England decided to have it, it was the turning point, the tipping point. And that's when people started having. So to get people to get vaccinated against this deadly disease, which was fatal also, and there were plagues because of that, he had to market that. So even the best of the ideas need marketing. So these are the two pillars. And if I were to, if there was one takeaway you can have from this whole session, is look at every single day. Am I innovating, or am I the same that I was yesterday? Am I putting in something new? Am I deriving, churning out something new? And this could be in any area. Again, I'm saying, okay. And two is this innovation? Oh, are my talents being marketed properly? And with that, of course, there are so many things that come in. How is it properly? What does properly mean? Because marketing also keeps changing. The fundamentals remain the same, but the tools keep changing every single day. Till 20. So I have spent 40 years in advertising. So when I got in, each design was handmade. Today, nothing is handmade. Okay. In fact, I being a copywriter and a strategist, I used to write every headline first myself, write 20 headlines, and then figure out which is working, which is not working, and then select to present to the client. Today, ChatGPT churns out 100 headlines for me to choose from. And then, of course, I tweak it to how I want it to, but my basic raw material, my basic job is done. All right. So what I'm saying is the fundamentals of marketing will remain the same. The tools become more powerful. Tools become very different from what they were. One brochure to design and print, from design to print, for us used to take about 3 months time. Today, in 2 days, we design a brochure and churn it out. So things change, and we need to constantly be on the rolling ball and adapt. And in fact, not just adapt, but master change. Okay, so that's marketing. Moving forward, I don't think I'll be able to finish the whole presentation, but whatever I want to do a little detailed job rather than just skip through every slide and kind of leave no impact. So do these complicated concepts work? So here's where you see the impact of marketing. Now this is one of the most important charts that you will see. So it is by S&P Standards and Poor's, which has monitored 500 top companies listed on the US stock exchange. These are the 500 largest companies in America, which are on the stock exchange, and they've crunched the balance sheets of them from 75 onwards to today. All right. And they've drawn out something very important from here. So in 75, if you look at it, the intangibles of the top 500 companies, the intangibles, meaning what is not on the balance sheet. So what can be a tangible that comes on the balance sheet is my land, plant, machinery, all the physical assets that the company owns, raw material, trucks, material in progress, material in pipeline, etc., etc. All that are tangible assets. After the tangible assets have been added up, there's still some balance left on the balance sheet. That means if 100 rupees is the company's assets, 83% has been accounted for by tangible assets, land, machinery, etc. Yet there is a 70 rupee balance left. So where do these assets lie? Company cannot account for them. So these are the assets which do not lie in the physical realm, the tangible realm, and therefore we say these are intangible. And where is the intangible? There is only one place that the intangible can reside, which is here in our minds. There's no other place that an intangible can reside. All right. This has to be understood very clearly. Tangible resides where it is, my land, my machinery. And then there is the intangible, which is 17%. And it cannot reside anywhere because it's only in the human imagination. The moment I die, the intangible dies with me. All right. So in the minds of so many people, and that was then called the goodwill. Today it's called the brand. All right. This 17% represents that. Now 17% were intangible. And when we come to 2018, when this chart is, okay, 84%, so it's done a Shirshasana, 84% is intangible. Just imagine from 17% intangible to 84% intangible in the world's largest 500 companies. These companies include General Motors, these companies include General Electric, Caterpillar, all the hard stuff that they make, in addition to, of course, Google, etc. And if you don't understand this, you're antiquated already, because that means today's companies have more value in intangibles than in the tangibles. Okay. And this reality. So when I do a corporate workshop and when I talk to corporate, tell them, just look at our balance sheet. If today 80% of your balance sheet value is tangible, then you are living in the past. You're a dinosaur. Okay. Because the world has moved on. And this is the reality you are faced with. Unless you are able to increase the intangible value, you are on your way to extinction in a way, right? So this is the world that we live in. And incidentally, after this, I got another chart, which was 2 years later, 2020, and this has moved to 90% intangible. 90% intangible means the value lies in the minds of the consumer, what they think about you, and that basically is identified and represented by your brand. Understand this. That is the value. So left side logic brain clearly tells you that in today's world, brand is the most important. 90% is brand. Everything else is 10%. Everything else is 10%. We need to understand this reality. This needs to really sink in. And for the other side of the brain, I have a story, because the right side reacts to stories. Okay. And this is the Marlboro story, which is, of course, my favorite. So this brand is owned by Philip Morris and Company, and it has been the single largest selling brand of cigarettes since the 1970s. Okay. So again, not a mean task, 60, 70 years, it's been the #1 selling cigarette brand in the world. Now, one day, the CEO of Philip Morris was sitting in his office, and he gets a buzz from his secretary saying that someone from Texas was here to meet you. Now, Texas then was the Saudi Arabia of America in a way. So the crude had been discovered there, and therefore people were becoming rich very soon. And therefore Texans were going out trying to, as all large players do, diversify their risk and therefore get into other sectors. So he said, please bring him in and have some coffee served. Sat on a table, coffee served. And this Texan tells, the CEO asks the Texan, what brings you here so early in the morning, gentlemen? The Texan replies, look, we were toying with the idea of buying over your company. This guy gets a shock. Yeah, early in the morning, people start working there at 8:30 in the morning. Offices start in America, 8:30. 8:30 in the morning, this guy comes. Some people come to me to ask for my distribution, vendor registration, etc., etc. And here comes the guy who says, look, I want to buy over your company. He got some slight shock. But then he comes out of it pretty soon and flips an envelope, makes some calculations and says $5 million. Now, it is the Texan who gets a little, 5 million back then was a big amount. So he's okay, nice. What I'll do is, let me go back, work with my financial people and come back to you with a counter offer, which is the way things are done in business, mergers and acquisitions. So he says, let's meet next week again, and I'll come back with a counter offer. Fair enough. He goes. Next week, as promised, he comes back, and again they're ushered in, coffee served, etc. And so now the Texan says, look, we've had an internal discussion, and we feel that actually we don't want to buy over your entire company. What we really want to buy is the rights to this red and white packet and that name Marlboro. This time around, the CEO doesn't even flip an envelope, no calculations. Pat comes the reply, $50 million. The Texan gets shocked this time. He says, when I came to buy over the company, you said $5 million. And now when I'm wanting to buy the rights of this brand was not a word there incidentally. Then, so this name and this pack, you say $50 million, 10 times the price. Why? It is said that the CEO of Philip Morris gets up, draws the curtains behind him, large glasses behind him, through which you could see the factories churning out millions of sticks of cigarettes, packaging going out, etc., etc. Then picks up a pack of Marlboro and says, "Look, gentlemen, leave this with me and take all of that, and I can create that in 3 years. Take this away and leave that with me. All that you see is ashes." The value, gentlemen, doesn't lie there. The value lies here. The value lies here. This is what I call enlightened leadership. Back then, when branding was not even a word, at that point, he realized where the value lay. And the value, if he says the value lies here, what is he actually telling you? That the customer, when he goes out, he's not asking for cigarettes. These plants are manufacturing cigarettes. The customer goes out and asks for a Marlboro. Okay, so what the customer wants is valuable. What we produce is just commodity. So therefore, the value lies here. That's the power of branding. So therefore, 10 times the price. So I've given you an answer of what branding has to do with profits, both from the right side of the brain and the left side of the brain. And we can see this coming together, both in numbers as well as in anecdotes or real case studies. So even today, brands are sold for about in a market today. Lots of people buy brands for a factor of anywhere between 4 to 10, 12 times the profitability of the company. So you can get the range, because you have to factor. And even now, even then, I say not everything has been factored in. Even when you're paying 5 times the price to acquire a brand, you do not know so many other intangibles that are embedded in the brand itself, which manifest them much later at times. So even then, they are underpriced in a way. And I'll give you one example. So we've been dealing with SME sector. Excuse me for 1 second. I'll just have a sip. So we've been dealing with the SME sector all our lives, being located in a small town called Nagpur and starting my agency at the age of 24 in 87. So SME sector is what we've been actually dealing with all our lives. And we see this coming through every single day, where they build a factory, they put up a showroom, spend 2 crores, 3 crores, whatever. Okay. And then when everything is ready to go to the market, and they want agencies to come in and talk to them about marketing it. And when you propose a budget of say 50 lakhs or something, they balk, completely stunned. Why should we spend 1 crore of rupees or 50 lakhs on marketing? The same guy would not blink his eye if the land adjacent to his factory is available and he buys it for 2 crores, because expansion ke liye le liya. But when will expansion happen here? So they are still more cued into tangible assets. They still do not realize, in our country, unfortunately, we still don't realize the value of the intangible. The point is that if you pick up today, a lot of males here, so pick up a can of shaving foam that you might have at home. Most of the chances are it will be a Gillette, and just turn it around, and the brand, the line there will say Gillette, brand owned and marketed by Procter & Gamble, P&G, manufactured at some Midas Industries, Silvassa, some place, So this line tells you everything that you need to know about business today. That means the company in effect is saying brand owned and marketed by. So what is important and valuable, I'm into that part of the business, manufactured at something, someplace. So what is not really critical to my whole operation and profitably, I have farmed it out to someone else to do. So if this is not understood by Indian manufacturers, Indian business houses, that the true value lies in intangible, they will never be. Like today, you don't have an Indian brand in the top 100 most valuable brands in the world. There's no Indian brand there, right? And we will continue to not be there if we are not really able to understand this one simple thing, that you have to constantly build the value of intangible. If you buy a Rolex watch today for 8 lakh of rupees, you're not buying a watch, you're buying intangible value. The tangible part of it is available for $1,000. What you're paying the rest of the money for is the intangible. You need to understand this very, very, very clearly. Otherwise, we'll continue to, fight on price. My watch is cheaper than yours. My watch is cheaper than yours. The moment you want to say my watch is expensive than yours, then you have to offer intangible value. There is no other way. So I think we are at 11:50. Let me know when to stop. I can carry on till the evening.
10 minutes, sir.
Okay, great. So wherever we reach, whatever point we reach 10 minutes from now, I think that'll be enough, from my opinion, knowledge imparted about branding. And then there are, of course, questions. So let's make things simpler. Um, Okay, so normally when we say the word brand, utter the word brand, we normally, people understand that it is all these logos, symbols, brand identity, colors, fonts, etc. that we are talking about. Now, this is not the brand. This is the identifier of value. As I always give the example, suppose I write AU. AU is a symbol, chemistry. AU is gold. I write AU 1 tola and give it to you, or 10 tolas or give it to you. Okay, the ruling price today is 1 lakh rupees a tola, right? 10 grams. Okay, would you give me 1 lakh rupees? No, but I can always have this logic. I'm giving you AU. AU means gold. So you will say this AU doesn't mean gold. It represents gold, right? Same is the case here. The 3M, the Visa, the Citibank, the Sony there is AU. It represents some value. This is not the brand. This is a representation of what is of value. So this is important. Yes, you will do a lot of, you spend money with agencies like us to develop a good brand identity, but this, never confuse it with the real brand. The real brand is the reality, the truth that emerges when the customer thinks of you, interacts with you. All that are the touch points, all that are the perceptions, and perceptions are built on, of course, personal experiences, and what people tell me, what I read in the media, etc., etc. So that is where the real brand lives, and that is 80% below the level of our consciousness. What we see and hear about a brand. So we see the word Tanishq, we go to their showroom, we experience something. All that is in that top tip of the iceberg, the 10% that you see there. What Tanishq really means and strives to mean and keeps constantly doing to keep meaning that is happening below your conscious level. And that is where we react from. So a brand is a sum total of what people think of you when your name is mentioned. It is derived from where? Own experiences, word of mouth, informal gossips, friends' opinions, media stories, and everything else. So all that is forming this complex bhel, as I call it. I'm sure most of you would have tasted bhel, and bhel has so many different ingredients. Okay, but each bhel is different. Okay, so some place you will have more murmuras and less chutney. Some place you will have more chili. So each bhel, the whole flavor of bhel is, it is neither murmura now, it is neither puffed rice and chuda or whatever else. It's a complex, one single flavor I get when I put it in my mouth. And that's the brand. So everything comes together, coalesces in a way which creates a unique perception. And that's the brand. So it's a promise that is delivered consistently in a one-line statement. So there are two components to a brand. One is, of course, what the offering is. So when I say product, it's always, as I said, not a tangible element itself. A service is a product to a financial service like insurance. There's nothing that's going to come to you. The certificate is just to tangibilize the intangible. It's a promise. Ultimately, what is life insurance? It's a promise that when you are no more, someone will somewhere get something on your behalf. That's it. Okay. So there can be no tangibility to it. Okay. So anything that you're offering is the product and the added value to it. So if we understand this, and I come back to my Rolex example again and again, the product and the added value, these two together make the brand, and that is what makes it valuable. So if we follow Socrates' typical logic technique, so there are all Rolexes are watches, agreed? Everything, I'm like talking of the category at this point. So all Rolexes are watches, but are all watches Rolexes? No. So that means something is done to a watch for it to become a Rolex. Is this logic very clear? All Rolexes are watches, but not all watches are Rolexes. So that means you begin as a watch and then do something to it to make it a Rolex. But then how can you make something change? How do you change anything? There are only two ways to change anything. One is to add something to it or to take away something from it. Then only, otherwise the thing remains the same. So if your watch has to become a Rolex, you can only do two things. Take something away. So nothing's been taken away from a watch for sure, because it still shows time. It still looks like a watch and not a wall clock. Okay. So it still remains a watch. So that means nothing has been taken away from it. So the only other method left is something has been added to it. Now my question is, it is still a watch. It still shows time. What's been added to it for it to become 8 lakh rupees? Sorry.
Not the brand. The quality of the product is more important.
The
Then only
quality,
the brand will be developed.
quality
You cannot develop the brand without the quality.
No. What I'm saying is quality is a given in today's world. So have you had an enlarged session? You can't enter the market with bad quality today. So there are watches which are qualitatively far better than Rolexes also, but we don't pay 8 lakh rupees for them. So
Sir, a sense of pride.
The
Sir,
intent,
endorsement,
how
endorsement.
others
Exclusive.
perceive us when we
yes,
wear it.
yeah, all of these answers are correct. So therefore, the thing is, now here's the magic, nothing was added to the product. Nothing was added to the product. Something was added here to make the product more valuable. So this is the lesson that you need to learn from the whole exercise of how do you brand. So at times, of course, as I'm saying again and again, repeating myself, you can't enter today's market with a bad product. You'll be thrown out in no time. So if you have to sustain a good product, quality, etc., is a given. That's your entry ticket to the market game. So for adding value, you don't necessarily always need to add something to the product. You need to add something to the mind of the user. And that's where value is built. The value built there is more long-term, it's more competitively a moat, survive competition better, competitive advantage, give you more return than the value added to the product, because the products can be duplicated very, very soon. Meaning, so today's world, if Apple comes up, iPhone comes up with something, 3 months down the line, you will have a Samsung do it too. All right. So what you add to the product can be duplicated, can be done better by someone else. But what you add to the mind is unique. So no one else can become a Rolex. That's the unique thumb impression that Rolex has, right? Now, this, if understood, the fundamentals of the brand are clearly understood. And just one more equation before we go. So we looked at product plus added value. Added value too has two components. We need to really understand this also. One is something you do which is reason-based. The value that is added is reason-based. So suppose you have a product, and on the layering of the product, you say, this is a perfume and it smells like wild forests. Okay. So when you smell it and you've been to wild forest, you can really replicate. Yes, this is wild forest. So reason has been used to enhance the value of the product. Or for example, for a more tangible level, you could have a motorcycle like Hero Honda did and came up with a 4-stroke engine which offers 80 kilometers to a liter at a time when most motorcycles were offering 50 kilometers to a liter. They were 2-stroke engines. That is reason. Application of added value based on reason. But more importantly, we talk about is added value because of emotion. This is what the Rolex example tells us. So if we are able to figure this out, that even as trainers, all right, so all these applies everywhere, right? The principles apply everywhere. Asha bhai, ek minute mat karo na, awaaz mat karo, rehne do. So if this were to be applied even to trainers, now I have to look at two things. One is, what is my service? That is the product itself. Okay, it has to be really good. When talking about people or things which do not have a good starting point, all right. Once it is good, so there are 10 people who have good training programs to offer. Now, what is my added value to it? Now, here is when you need to focus and look at. So, if now I'm just, like chartered accountant, a CA, a normal CA will also audit your firm and give you a report, an audit report. But you get it done through a Deloitte, for example. Okay, you get a report which is very different in terms of look and feel also. Okay, the paper used, the gold foiling used, the spacing amongst alphabets, the kind of font used, everything is. Now, what are they trying to do is something intangible. That is the value that Deloitte offers in, which is far above, they want to say, far above that a local chartered accountant is being, their tangible cues being delivered to tell you, yes, this is more valuable. So you walk into a haircut salon and guy there is wearing a white coat and, using disinfectant to instruments, etc. Treating you in a different way. So we used to get haircut done when we were young for 5 rupees. Today you walk into a place. Fortunately, Atul doesn't have to probably get a haircut done. I still have to for some time at least. So he gives me a bill of 500 rupees for these little hair that I've got. Now, why that? Because he's brought an element of tangibility. One, the place itself, the fragrance inside when I walk in, the music, okay, the kind of attire that he has on, okay, his instruments being disinfected before he starts work, etc., etc. All these are cues that are telling him, look, we are not an ordinary barber. We are doing XYZ. Okay. So all of us have to think in terms of this additional value that we bring to the table has to be signified in some way, which makes it accessible, understandable to the end consumer also. Of course, it has to have a good product. I'm always re-emphasizing this. It has to be a good product. But beyond being a good product, it has to encapsulate and create a story which tells the customer, yes, this is better. This is better because, etc., etc. So this is where we come to. I think it's 12, and I can probably stop here, and maybe some other time we'll continue from here.
Yes, I think so. Sanjay sir, thank you for that. And I'm sure there's a lot of questions in so many people's minds because the chat box has been buzzing. I'm sure you've been talking, but we've had the time to look at the chat box also. There have been people who've been, giving parallel examples and everything throughout in the chat box. A lot of that has been happening, and they've been acknowledging every example that you gave with something that they know, and it's there. And
Thank you, sir.
I'm sure there are a lot of people who would like to ask you
Yes,
questions.
sir.
So please unmute yourselves. But first, before that, I would like you to raise your hand virtually. And please keep this question terribly short so that Sanjay sir has a time to answer, right? Don't eat up time in the question. Yes.
Arora,
Yes, sir.
just want to know, what the advertisement gurus do. A 10 paise value product, they make it look like 10 rupee value product. But that's definitely cheating consumers. How can you do that?
Sorry, you mean?
Question is, if you have a 10 paise value product, you make it look like a 10 rupee product. I mean, why do you do that? You're cheating the consumer.
So,
Just sorry for asking this question.
No, not at all.
This is what
I face it every day.
what we see it in the market really.
Yes, this is the most common question, and I'm glad you put it up right up front. First question. Okay. The thing is, as an advertising agency, as a marketer, I've never forced you to buy. Okay. If you're buying an Hermes purse and you're getting into a 3-year queue for that, giving 10 lakh of rupees for that, you are doing it awakened consciously. We are not thrusting it on you. We're not there. There are people who see value in it and therefore buy it. Any product which doesn't signal value and is priced higher is phased out of the market. The brand flops, goes out. Incidentally, 80% products fail in the marketplace. Only 20% or slightly under 20% are successful. That tells you that the consumer is looking at every aspect. But if he picks up something at 10 rupees and sees value there is no reason to say that it has zero value or it be a cheating. There's no reason to say that. I can tell you something. More value is built by marketing into any product category than is built by manufacturing. The value is built here, and that is where the difference lies. And I don't know whether you've, so I can carry on about the placebo effect and all, but that's something very different.
All right. We have a lot of hands that have gone up.
Yes,
Dr. L.R.K. Krishnan, because you were there in the chat box also. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it was a good presentation. Your pitch as a marketing professional finally landed in the lap of a HR strategist, the power of the intangibles. So ultimately, nothing moves without the superior contribution or, the discretionary effort of an individual. And that's the brand rub-off happens. So finally, thank you for that acknowledgement towards the end.
My pleasure, sir. And I always say that it doesn't mean that, when Drucker says that marketing and innovation are the two most important functions, he's not saying the other functions are not needed. Who would service the customer if they're not a trained human being, right? we all hate getting onto the phone and saying, your call is valuable to us. Please stay on the line. And we're so valuable that they keep us there for half an hour. Okay, we are so valuable to them. So we all hate that, right? We would rather have a human being pick it up and say, yes, what can I do for you, Mr. Sanjay, this morning? All right. And it's very easy to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Rohit Shrimal, please.
Yes, thank you, Sanjay sir, for the session.
please.
Sir, apart from Deloitte, can you name a couple of other services where branding has been used effectively? Like, for example,
All
like
consultants.
in a highly business development environment or a highly relationship-based selling environment, can you think of any examples?
All the big four themselves, all the big fours, the McKinseys of the world, all of these are service industries at the end of the day. They are valued far more. So maybe at times, an individual consultant can be more intelligent and can offer you better solutions. It's just the brand McKinsey at 5 times or 10 times the price who still gets the contract. Even our government contracts, they're handed out to these big four and the others. These are all because there's a legacy, there's a storyfying, there's all of that has been brought in. Not to say that they're not competent. Competence is the starting point. There's no debate there. And there are lots in, in terms of right, other sectors, no service comes to mind immediately, but I'm sure there are so many more. I'm puzzled at this point to come out with one example here.
Okay, all right. Essentially, all I was trying to say is that I may not have the lifetime to build a brand like McKinsey for myself. So,
No, that's great. But then I'll tell you, sorry, don't please think that I'm boasting. Don't get me wrong at all. So I was a small town advertising guy till some time ago. I used to do, along with that, I was into academics, teaching MBA schools, etc. while running my ad agency. Since in a small town, you have all the time in the world to do whatever you want to do. All right. We don't waste 2 hours commuting in the morning and evening, 2 hours. So 4 hours saved. Had a lot of things to what we can do in a small town. So about just a year and a half ago, I got onto Instagram and started doing whatever I'd been teaching in the classroom on Instagram. And then suddenly it blew up. And I didn't know it would. I always say this by accident. And today I'm getting consulting assignments from US, Middle East, of course, all over India, traveling all over the country. And this is also a part of the branding exercise, right? So I'm a service. I offer intangible consulting, communication, etc., etc. Till 3 years ago, if I was getting an X price, today I'm getting 5X. Why is this happening? Because the credibility, the value is now seen every single day when I do an episode every single day on Instagram, and I don't have to justify myself anymore. Okay, so these kind of layering actually helps you build a brand even in a shorter span of time. And today, believe me, all of us have this one instrument which has more information than all of the Alexandria library that we talk about was burned in Greece. It has had then the largest collection of books in the world. All right. This small instrument has more than that. And therefore, we are all a media company, whether we like it or not. And we can just start using that. We can build a brand far sooner than McKinsey could, because it took so many years, because then there was no online presence in a way. So, yeah.
thank you for enlightening, sir. Thank you.
Pleasure, sir. Pleasure, sir.
Can I have the next question from Nidhi?
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
I have seen a lot of your videos and podcasts, and I'm so happy to be able to talk to you today.
My pleasure, ma'am.
I have a small question. I don't know how relevant it is with the talk, but I wanted to know that how can L&D practitioners or HRs, I am guessing a lot of us are HRs over here, can brand themselves? Is it important in the organization or personally?
Yes, 101%. So, we need to start, as I mentioned initially also, it all begins with defining yourself. What do you stand for? Okay. What is the key value proposition that you bring to the table? All of these things need to be articulated and be documented. So normally what we do is we start with, I know who I am. I know my strengths. It's all here. No, it doesn't work that way. This has to be documented well. And then look at, so in my domain, so you suppose you're starting from Nagpur, like I am. Okay. So in Nagpur, who else does this? What are their key strengths? How can I differentiate myself from the others? Okay. Now, this is the key question. All of us doing something maybe the same thing, there has to be a differentiator of why a person thinks of you when that particular subject is mentioned. Okay. Uh, uh, again, I don't want to sound pompous, but the moment the word branding is mentioned in today's context, people do think of me here, this region, etc., etc. Now, this hasn't happened overnight, but yes, because I've been constantly focusing on this small area and bringing across stories and ways that I do these things. So then, so first is to identify the differentiator, which has to be based on authentic strength, not something that you imagine. Okay. And then building on it in a way which people can relate to, the right target audience. So if people who are not my target audience do not know me, doesn't make any difference to me. But people who are my target audience, so it begins with the top of the funnel. How do I build awareness about myself and my differentiation and value proposition that I bring to the category? And then gradually moving down the funnel to how will they be convinced that I am the only one to talk to for this particular reason? That is, when you reach that point, you've reached the strong brand point. So I've tried to compress what is a process which could be, to communicate that.
Thank you, Nidhi. Mustafa, sir, could we have you asking the question?
Yeah, wanted to ask what are the do's and don'ts of for an advertiser or a marketeer to make a brand?
Do's
I
and
could
don'ts.
ask this question in this way, or I
Mhm.
can make it more interesting. Suppose, since you're taking example of Rolex,
Mhm.
what could Rolex marketing can do that can lead to the fall of Rolex?
Okay, yeah. So luxury brands live in a different space. Okay, so luxury brands, one of the key things is scarcity. The key attributes of luxury brands is not everyone should be able to have it. So the day Rolex says available for 50% less now, we're clearing stock, Rolex is gone as a brand. All right. If you can just walk into a Rolex store and buy one for 7 lakh of rupees, it doesn't create any magic. All right. So you have to be able to walk into the store and the guy has to tell you, look, you have the 7 lakh or 8 lakh rupees, but I cannot sell it to you now because I don't have enough stocks. I'm currently satisfying my earlier customers and you'll have to be put on a waiting list. Please have coffee with me and we'll let you know when the next watch becomes available. So these are the areas where Rolex needs to be very careful as to what it is communicating. It is not for everyone. And therefore, the guy who wears it says, look, I can have it, you can't. So you're the masses and I am the class. All right. This is the whole bottom line of crux of what a Rolex brand is. So anything that takes away from this is a don't for Rolex. Anything that reinforces, strengthens this is a do for Rolex.
I think maybe one or two questions, Nivjita madam.
Yeah, we'll take just two more. Prakash Vishnu Bhede, please. Bhede, sir, please unmute yourself. Yes, sir.
I'm Dr. Prakash Bide.
Right,
I
sir.
think, sir, fantastic and outstanding presentation, and I have learned so much from this presentation.
Thank you so much,
I
sir.
think it was really eye-opener for someone like me who has 40 plus years of experience.
Thank you, sir.
My belief and this thing is that behind the brands and marketing and innovation is the talent, leadership, and the culture of the organization. And HR being, I was the group president of HR for very large companies of 15 companies or so. I'm still on the independent director. And I believe that having that strong HR part of talent, leadership, and culture, which is behind the brands, which is behind marketing, is equally critical, and it is all intangible. So out of that 90% intangible, I think a large part is talent and culture and leadership. Please comment, sir.
100%, sir, without a doubt. There's a very famous quote that goes like, culture has strategy for dinner. So culture is what really drives strategy and not the other way around. And culture setting in the organization. So there are so many examples. Nordstrom, for example, you may have heard of that brand, which has the highest retail sale per square foot of real estate retail real estate for any other brand in the world, is primarily because of service. And that service culture has been ingrained, so deeply embedded in the DNA of the organization, DNA of the employees, that it is brought alive every single transaction, every single interaction. So yes, culture is critical. Culture is 100% most very critical.
And for paucity of time, we'll take the last question. Dr. Shubhada Athavale, please.
Good morning. Good afternoon, sir. I am Dr. Shubhada Athavale from Modern College of Engineering.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I read a beautiful article in Indian Express, a battle for mind share.
Yes.
Nowadays, mind share is getting more importance than the market share. So, sir, could you enlighten us on
So
it?
this is, I'll tell you, I started in advertising in 1986. Okay, joined the first agency as my first job. And we've been talking about it since then. It's come in the public domain probably now. And our equation was always very clear. Mind share is directly proportional to market share. So the greater the mind share, the greater the market share normally. Because so when companies fight, if I say the word soap, what are the first three brands that come to your mind? So the chances are you might think of maybe Dove, maybe Pears, maybe Lux, whatever this. And these are called the evoked set of brands. Now, chances of you using one of these brands is 100%. And not that you are using some other brand and cannot think of that brand when I asked you the question, what are the brands of soap that you can recall now? So that means the mind share taken by these brands is critical to your purchase behavior and therefore the market share. So there is a direct linkage between mind share because you enter through the mind and then behavior happens, purchase happens. If you do not know of a brand, there is no way you can buy it. So yes, the route to market share is through mind share.
Beautifully answered, sir. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I would have loved, personally, I would have loved to take all the questions, but time is not on our side. And like Sanjay sir said, online sessions really suck most of the times because the efficacy is lost in interaction and impact. But Sanjay sir, thank you for so gamely being here 100% with your mind, body, and soul. You don't
My pleasure,
require
ma'am.
to do any wellness, workout for that. But all your body and soul, everything was right here with us. So thank you so much. My first thank you goes out to you, sir, for putting in so much in so little time. It's like छोटा पैकेट बहुत ज्यादा बड़ा धमाका है sir. So thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much.
So kind of you.
I thank all the chapter chairs for encouraging their members and their colleagues and people they know in this world for joining in over here. We had a rocking, I think max I saw was 243 people who had logged in today. Thank you so much for taking out time early in the morning on a Sunday and being here. The OB members, the regional vice presidents of ISTD, all the office bearers of ISTD, and of course the national president Atul Shah. Atul is who he is, and we are all just happy that he's in our life. So thank you to everybody who made this outreach program a possibility, and not only a possibility, but gave us motivation to keep doing this every month. Sanjay sir, for your information, we do this outreach program every month, and may I say that we've had the highest attendance in your session. And God willing, we will have more sessions from you, more
Let's have a
gyan
physical
from you.
session sometime. Yeah, that will be more important.
Yeah, it would be wonderful. Thank you to everybody who logged in. And of course, not to remember my dearest friend Gurvinder from NHQ. Thank you, Gurvinder, for, as always, a seamless experience online. Thank you so much.
Photograph coming. Everybody put your videos on.
Yes, please
For
put
the
on your
names I can-
videos and
for
your
the names
best
I can
smiles.
see, we had an illustrious team. We had PNP Sunil Abriol, Nivjita Madam, Simantani from Philippines, Anup Kumar from Dehradun, our National Vice President, Sir Atul Sharma from Bangalore, Bharti Shivgur, fine speaker from Bangalore, DLN Reddy, Sir Dilip Desai, a few names I'm catching, Dr. Amit, Dr. L.R.K. Krishnan, Dr. Raman Vallabh from Jharkhand, Dr. Narendran, Dr. Ashok Daj, Dr. Lipika Sharma, Dr. Rajesh Methi, Dr. Rashmi Hebelkarwa, Gautami from Calcutta, Krupa Goa, Dr. Manish from Surat, Mrinal Burman from Calcutta, PNP, Dr. Sambasiva Rao from Vizag, Padmati Rautre from Balasore, Nandish Wagle, Goa, Parijit Ji, then Prabhat Kumar, Bhavnagar, Pradeep Acharya from Silvassa, Dr. Vijay Fate, Pramod Sahu, Praveen Sinha from Noida, Pranay Jani, Jaipur, Pratibha, Radharaman sir from Mumbai, Dr. Raju Rathod, RVP, Rahul Bose, quite a few names here. Ramkesh Meena, Ramesh Neil, Dwivedi Sab, Shukla ji, Ramesh Vargav, Sanab Joshi, Sucharita, Sunil Kasture, Vikas Chaudhary, Vinod, Warrior Sanjay Gupta, and a plethora of people, the who's who from ISTD from across the country. Thank you very much, Mr. Sanjay.
Thank
brought us
you.
all
Thank
together.
you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, and Sanjay
Thank
ji,
you very much, NP sir.
lively
Thank you, sir.
session.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you
Thanks a
so
lot.
much
You did it
for a
very well,
wonderful
Tina
session.
madam.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Great, great.
Thank
We
you
meet
for
again.
wonderful
Varga
session,
Swami
sir.
sir, just right.
From Indore,
Thank
yes.
you. I just see him here.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very
Enjoy
much.
the
Thank
rest
you,
of the
sir.
Sunday. It's a
Thank you.
great day ahead.
Thank you.
Can I leave now?